Welcome to Mason City Schools. Here are 5 tips from our teachers' experiences of using the Jamboard. But before we can reveal our tips, mindset is critical.
Be vulnerable. Let your students know you're taking a risk with new technology in the classroom. Ask for their support as you would support them as they take a risk in your classroom.
Don't be afraid to retry when things don't go as expected with the Jamboard. Some lessons just don't go the way you think they will, so make some changes and try it the next class.
Start small and don't stress over trying to use it in every class. The more comfortable you become with the board, the easier it gets to use.
Every day, try something new and different with the Jamboard. It may go great, it may flop, but at least you tried.
Tip number 5, classroom management is key. Communicate to your students well-defined expectations and consequences when using the Jamboard. The first time you give editing access to students, let the kids get everything out of their system and explore. Share the Jam with students so they'll be able to follow along in real time on their device when you're teaching. Post your jams in Google Classroom for students to access. This is especially helpful for those who may have been absent.
When teaching a unit, keep a running jam of all the topics. And if you ever need to review, you can go back to an earlier frame. When doing work in small groups, label each frame so students can easily find the page that they're working on.
Tip number 4, collaborate and connect.
Collaborate with others to make the Google Jamboard less overwhelming and easier to use. Don't be afraid to ask for help. If you're the only one with a Google Jamboard in your school, use your social media and connect with others.
Tip number 3, know your tools and tricks. Do you need to make copies of this frame? Use duplicate. Handwriting recognition is a lot faster than typing. Graph paper. Math teachers love this. Touch erasing. It's much faster. Expanding the image helps to highlight important points. This is an important one. If a teacher or a student accidentally casts to your Jamboard, just quickly tap the power button twice to disrupt the cast. Do you need to bring your lessons to life? You can actually place images on top of maps and then be able to move them to bring the battles to life. You can use the Select All tool to select different images, phrases, words, and keep them together. Students love GIFs. When searching for images, just add GIF at the end to bring your images to life. This is key when you're sharing your jams with your students. You can turn on and off editing, so this way if you want them just a few and not mess around, you're able to do that.
Tip number 2. This is not just a tool for teachers. Don't be afraid. Let the students interact with the actual board. Invite students to create lesson review jams for your class or mini study groups. Let the students play around with the Jamboard. Some students are just so tech savvy that you may get ideas from them. Give students the option to design their presentation on the Google Jamboard. Oh boy, does that take their presentations to the next level. Dynamic and interactive.
Tip number 1, give your students a voice. Let them drive their own learning. Giving students edit access to the jams is the greatest way to use and interact with them. It's a formative assessment tool. Use student responses to make immediate instructional changes, and it all saves to your drive. Excellent instrument to drive discussion and break down problems in small groups. Students contribute to your classroom without fear. Opening up jams equals full classroom participation.
Remember, there's so many possibilities of how you can use it to improve your teaching and students' learning.